This program is brought to you by Emory University.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
We're so glad that you're here for the second of our 3 workshops on getting a job. Who was here last week? All right, we got repeat customers.
Nice job. Good.
So we are so thankful to Ann Kelly for coming and doing this for us. Ellen probably mentioned last week that Ann came a year and a half ago in the spring. And did this series of workshops that even I learned so much from. So this is just such a valuable time, and we're so thankful for you for coming and being with us today. So welcome, everyone. Please feel free to have more food as your stomach feeds you.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. So it's so much fun to be back again because we have some progress to build on from last week. Those of you who were not here, you will catch on quickly. So we're glad you're here today. As Audrey said, please do. Help yourself to food. If you need a break, take a break. Whatever you need to do, we're just going to keep this rolling for the next 90 minutes to give you the most time that we can. It's interesting because, when you also say you found things helpful. Job search is something that we all don't want to do, and after we're done doing it, we just forget about it. So I have not only the students that I work with at Emory, but I have a whole private practice, because anytime anybody has to find a job in any profession, it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. And it's sometimes helpful to do this with other people. So your best resource of all is each other. And I know sometimes, people say to me, but how is another person who needs a job my best resource? Do they know what to do? Are they my competition? No, you're actually all colleagues already. You're all going to be working together for the rest of your time. So this is the time to start really working with each other. Everybody's going to be the right fit for several things. Nobody's going to be the right fit for everything. So it's so much less about competition than it is that camaraderie. So that's something that I would have you just bear in mind, is that even though I know it sometimes can be embarrassing to show somebody a resume or ask for help or say, I really don't know how to answer this interview question, or I heard you answer it in your question, you sounded brilliant, I feel like I sound like an idiot. You don't. I guarantee you sound very articulate, very well informed, because your topic that you're talking about is you. So it's actually, even though it might not be comfortable to talk about ourselves, it's not hard because you do actually have the subject matter expertise. So that's something to bear in mind. Hopefully you've been able to carve out a little time between last week and today to be able to look at those resumes a little bit. So were people able to take a look at their resumes and kind of start to think about, I hear laughter, that's good, yes. To start, because as we said, there's never a finished resume. Did I take my poll last week? How many people, it was your responsibility to mow the lawn growing up? Anybody responsible for yard work? Did you do that like once, twice?
What do you mean growing up?
Growing up, yeah, really. Never ends, right? Yeah, there you go, never ends. And I always explain that it's wonderful when people have actually had that responsibility, because you know that. You do a beautiful job at the end of a Saturday and you say, wow, it looks pretty good. And you can actually see the fruits of your labor. And then 2 weeks later, all the weeds come back up and it looks totally a shambles and nobody knows about your good work. That is a resume. That's a resume. There's always going to be things that you are changing. It is never finished. It's so much more like landscape architecture than it is anything else. So our goal was to have you start working on things. How many of you tried sort of looking at the template and looking at your resume and kind of putting it into some new templates? Stars, fabulous. How many of you talked to another person? Yeah, oh, even more hands. How did that go sitting down with somebody else and talking about that? Could you share that with me?
Tell them I really look like crap and I need to keep going. I appreciate it though.
Okay.
I like honesty.
Okay, so you were good with that. Okay, so you were ready to hear that? Was it delivered to you in words and in a way that were productive for you?
No, you live it just like that.
Just like that. Okay, so you respond to that. All right, that's good to know. Okay, that's good. What else? Who had an experience with it?
Yeah, I think being in a group of 3 created other voices. So one person would say, oh, okay, well, if you add ED to the end of this word, didn't think of that, and the other person saying, okay, I know you did more than this, why don't you just stop and tell me what you did, and then we'll help you figure out the words. And it was also fun to just affirm, like, you're really good at that, say that here, so.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
That you really aren't able to do for yourself when you work alone. Very quickly, you get it's very depressing, very defeated. You feel like, oh, I'm just going to be missing so many pieces, nobody's ever going to hire me. And so work in those groups, because it allows you to really focus and stay positive, and you do forget. You always forget things that you did. And that was a great example of when you are working in a group of 3 like that. If you can just stop and say, well, let me tell you about what I did. And you can just talk and kind of extemporaneously speak on it. There'll be like 6 or 7 more things, and then you're at a point where you have to pick and choose and cut down all the things you have, because there's too many things to put on your resume. And that's a great place to be, is to have too many options. So I would encourage you, that is the only way the resume is going to get done. The other thing would be just pick your date and make a commitment to it. And don't make the date, when I find something that I want to apply for, that's not the time to make your date. You need to just pick a date. You need to think about when your finals are coming up. You need to think of probably 3 weeks before that, which could be now, right? So pick a date for the next couple weeks that you are just going to commit to knocking this out and having something there that if somebody said, hey, I have a friend who has this opportunity for over winter break, would you maybe be interested in? That you're like, not a problem. I feel comfortable saying this to you right now, and that you're not going to have a panic attack because it's in the middle of finals, it's in the middle of everything else you have going on in life, and you pass up an opportunity because of a silly piece of paper. That piece of paper does not determine your destiny, right? It's just one of the tools. Now, the nice thing about resume cover letter, I gave you a template on a cover letter, and it had 3 attributes that it recommended. You kind of look at that. Did people have an experience with that, with looking at sort of your resume and that cover letter, and kind of seeing that there are certain attributes that they might have and stories you can tell around that? Yes.
I have trouble deciding which words to use for like the role. Does that make
Yes,
sense? I don't
it does.
know. Would you recommend getting those words from the description of the job, or would you recommend, so for example, like one of the words is like diligence, and so I don't really think of that as something that you could like pull from a resume. So I guess my question is it a way to just highlight an attribute that you have? So like for example, diligence might be an attribute you have, but that's not necessarily like on your resume. You're not going to put like diligently work for what. Does that make sense?
But that's a perfect word to pick. Yes, your line of thinking is 100% correct, that is your opportunity to list the types of things that are just that great picture of who you are as a person. And then your definition of diligence and the story that you tell is the way for you to put meaning behind the word. So those words that you pick, 3 words that you pick to describe yourself, if you have to talk about a brand statement and who you are, those words take on meaning when you define it. And defining it is in the story of what you think diligence is. So if we all looked at that word, we could write down what we think a Webster's definition is. But then if I were to say, could each of you describe a time where you exhibited diligence? Your stories would be very varied. And the aspects that you would take with it, what would inevitably happen is you'd start to say, well, that's not diligence. That was integrity. Well, that wasn't really okay, it wasn't this. The word is not critical. It's not critical. It's that you get your best stories, the things that define you. The other great point you made is if the job says we need advanced communication skills, then guess what you have? Advanced communication skills. So one of your key attributes is you're a good what? Yes, and I know this sounds basic, and I don't say it in a way thinking that you're not smart enough to know it. I say it basically because we overthink these things, and we also think, well, is that kind of cheating if I pull the words out? The problem is, people literally can't connect the dots. They can't connect the dots. In illustration of it, I had a student who actually walked almost all the way across campus with me because she said, can I ask you about I didn't get a job interview and I really think I was a good candidate for it. So I said, of course, tell me what you think it is. Well, the job that she applied for was in the cosmetics industry, working on a brand that appeals to young, like kind of teens, almost preteens. And she said, I just feel like I really had some extra things. I said, well, what were those extra things? And 2 summers ago, her internship was working for Revlon Corporation. So, I mean, even the guys in here have probably heard that that's a cosmetic company. So Revlon Corporation, and her job was, they said, we need somebody young this summer to go through YouTube and find all these people who have these blogs that they do, video blogs of this is how you put on makeup, these are what the trends are, this is what it is. So she went through and, you know, she could say, well, I don't really like that person, that person's great. My friends don't look at that person at all. And she had all of that together, and some of those YouTube channels then got sponsored by Revlon. So they sunk dollars into her recommendations. And I said, well, you're right, that is some pretty good experience. She never connected the dots. She applied to this job, and I said, well, did you mention that in your cover letter? She goes, well, no, it's on my resume. And I'm like, well, where is it on your resume? She goes, well, it's about 3 down on work experience, and maybe in the 3rd or 4th bullet of what that needed to be front and center. That needed to be the top bullet. She should have bolded that on her resume. That needed to come out front and center on everything. So that's why I share that sometimes we think, oh, they'll see it. The person who is looking at these resumes and cover letters will see it. They don't have the time to scrutinize. So you want to make it as front and center as you can. I gave you a tiny quiz last week. How long do people read cover letters? How much time do they spend on each cover letter?
15 seconds.
What was that?
15 and 30 seconds.
That's right. They skim right down it. And they skim to see, do you have the job title right? Do you have the company name or the organization's name correct? And then what are those 3 words you used? And they're going to read maybe the first sentence of each of those. That's it. And so that's why I gave you a template and said, if you are spending hours writing cover letters, it's procrastination. You need to remind yourself that. So only slight modifications. How much time do you think they spend reading your resume?
12 seconds.
12 seconds. A little bit more. We'll go the other way this time. 13 seconds. Luckily, we get even a little bit more time. So now it's going to sound great when you get to hear it. About 90 seconds per resume. Once you've jumped through all of the system hoops that go with it. So you'll get more time if your resume is sent through someone and it's pulled from that pile for them to take a look at it. Otherwise, you're going to have to go through just the normal filters. Are you meeting the degree requirements? Are you looking for a certain kind of experience? Is that front and center and they see it? Those are the things that are going to pop up immediately. So that is why we are actually going to spend the bulk of today talking about networking and LinkedIn. And networking is not used car salesman, scary, I gotta sell you something, hey, I'm this super social person in the room, so good to meet you, I want to shake your hand, I want to shake your hand. It's got elements of that, but it's a very good thing, it's a positive thing. It has benefits for both parties. There's not one person in this room that should have any issues with the idea of networking. Because part of what you are signing up for your careers is you have agreed that you are going to be the person that people who are not sure who to talk to are going to feel like they can approach you, right? Your job is going to be to make people feel comfortable, right? There might be something you really want to talk to, but you notice somebody over there, nobody has been talking to them. You guys are the people who will go and you'll talk to that person who's over there. That's networking. That's all this is. It is talking to people and engaging with people. The biggest thing that people will say is, but Ann, it's using people because I'm only talking to them because I want them to help me get this job. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. That's not who any of you are. You are talking to people because you have a genuine interest in learning from them. That's great. That's wonderful. So when you're curious about a job, the best person to learn from is the person doing it, or the person doing that same job somewhere else, or somebody who used to do it, or somebody who's part of that organization to find out, it seems like the culture's really great, but I just wanted to know from somebody who's inside there, is it true? Is the culture really like that? Because cultural fit matters so much more than what you're actually doing at the job. So you really want to source for that. A website's not going to tell you. It's not going to tell you what it's really like. One of the big companies that we work with that everybody knows in finance is Goldman Sachs. You probably also know them because there was a big thing in the paper this summer about we are allowing our interns to go home at 10 p.m. this summer. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you a gold star for that. That's not okay. Also, the reality was the interns we had there is their bosses would come in and they would go, all right, it's 10, I'm supposed to tell you you can go home, and does anybody want to? What would you do? Are you going home? Of course not. You're staying till 3 in the morning, they're going home getting 3 hours of sleep, and then they're expected back at 6 a.m. But you know what their site says? A very supportive organization. We work hard, we play hard. If you read it, it was like, man, that sounds like camp. I don't want to go there. You need to talk to people to get the real sense of what's going on. All right, so that's important to do that. It's an important thing. I know you're saying, I don't want to do this, and you know what, I'll just listen to her today and I won't do it. But you're going to do it, because we're going to give you assignments, and we're going to make sure people follow up with you and help you with this, because as soon as you start doing this, it's just like exercise. We all have a great plan that would be a lovely thing we'll put into our days in our life, but it's really hard to keep going and build it in there. But then once you do, it becomes a part of what you do. So we're going to take little steps and keep it rolling. Let me ask you this question to see if this will make you feel better. So have any of you ever talked to somebody about your experience here at Emory? Because the person is trying to decide, is this school, is this degree, is this something they want to do? Has anybody ever done that? Okay. If I came to you and said, I have a student who's really struggling with studies right now and does not feel like they're headed in the right direction, would you be willing to have a few minutes just to share with them about your decision to come to Emory and be part of the Candler School of Theology? Would you be open to that? Is there anybody who you would like me to not put you on that list? No, you're all open, right? You're like, of course, I am happy to talk to them. So are the people you're reaching out to. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. Somebody that has the job you want isn't going, oh my gosh, I can't believe Monica emailed me. Oh my gosh, okay, Monica emailed me, she wants to come, I don't want to talk to this person. Not at all. People are very open if you say, I would love to learn more about what your role, what you do on a daily basis. I'm beginning my career search and just want to do some research about what it's really like on the job. That is so hands-off, so harmless, so hands-off. Is that at all saying, I want a job, can you help me? Is that at all saying, I just sent my resume, will you go look at it? Will you look at it? Will you put it top pile? Will you look at it? Will you help me get this? Will you get this? That's what you feel like you're asking for, but you're not. You're just not. That's not what you're doing at all. So what I have for you, I have some handouts for you to help make this a little less scary. The first one I have for you is going to talk about 2 different types of informational interviews. That's what these are called. Who is being interviewed in an informational interview? Them. That's right. You are the interviewer. So that should make you feel a little better, right? Because it's like, well, I'm here to hear what you have to say, and I may or may not select your occupation as my own. So thank you for your time today. So you are the person doing the interviewing. There are some that are just research-based, and that's where most of you really are at this point, is it's just gathering research. So look at all of these bullets. I know you'll get a copy of it, but I'm not going to hand it out because you're going to sit and read it, so you get it at the end. Look at all these bullets. What's your role in the organization? What's a typical day like? What background do you think is best for a person in this field? Can you describe the current issues and trends within the organization, within the diocese, within, you fill in the blank, within the care organization? You're going to fill that in. You're also going to modify. These are idea starters for you. But I know part of it is like, well, if this person agrees to talk to me, and I'm going to show you how to get people to agree to talk to you. If the person agrees to talk to you, it's like, oh gosh, now what? Now what am I going to talk to them about? What if I can't keep the conversation rolling? What if there's dead silence? There won't be. You're asking people to talk about themselves. That's easy. People like to do that, and they want to help you. Things down here. What advice for someone looking to enter this field? You're also just gathering this information. So more often than not, when you say, what's some advice for somebody who wants to answer this field, across every occupation, the person you're talking to will be like, oh, you should pick something else. It's not personal, it's just that as many of you may know, once you kind of head on one path doing something, sometimes you go, it would have been interesting to Robert Frost this and go on the other path. And so often people will say that, and it's just something that it's more about them than it's about you. The last question, or second to last question, can you suggest any other people you think it might be beneficial for me to speak with? Yes, they may say, I really don't. No, I think I've told you everything. And you go, thank you. Well, that is wonderful. I appreciate it. You still are going to look for other people. You're still going to look for other people and see what that is. Okay, what else do we need here? What's the best way to find out about job opportunities in this industry? What do you think are the best way to find out about job interviews, job opportunities in nonprofit in Atlanta? Great question to ask somebody. Nobody's going to think that's dumb that you don't know that yet. You shouldn't know that yet. There's no reason for you to know any of that yet. And sometimes you ask that person that question, and I've had students say, well, you know what? I asked them, and they said, I don't know, but you know what? I will research that for you because I'm interested in the answer to that question too. Well, now you've just helped them. Is this pay it forward? This is going to be a pay it forward. Because all of the people that have these jobs wish that they would have had somebody that they could have talked to. So they're happy to talk to you. You will absolutely be delighted to speak with anybody, especially your fellow alums that are going to come up in the next classes, right? When they say, how did you do it? How did you get your job? How did you do this? You're not going to go, I'm sorry, I'm very important now and I don't have time to talk to you about how my career search went. That's not going to happen. You're like, I would love to talk to you. You might have to say, here's the thing. Given that it's this time of year, can we schedule it for spring? Or can we schedule it for 3 weeks from now? And that's going to happen to you when you reach out to people. People are going to not read your first email and respond. What do you do when they don't read your email and they don't respond?
Keep looking.
That's right. You said cry? Collapse on the floor and cry? Feel shame? Oh, they don't like it. No, that's right. I say it's baseball rules. So you get to email them 3 times, 3 weeks in between each time that you email, and 3 strikes and you're out. Leave them alone. They're probably busy. Another analogy I like to use, because especially since you're students, is think about the busiest time that you have during finals, and there's life happening at the same time. So if a family member says, I just wanted to see, could we get together on the phone? You've got 3 exams now. Could we just get together on the phone tonight? Because I wanted to talk about the holiday menu. It's going to be here in 4 weeks, and I think tonight's the night for us to talk about the holiday menu. It's not that you don't want to talk about the holiday menu, it's just the timing, correct? So life is just busy. So you'd love to talk about the holiday menu. I need this to be 2 days from now, when I'm done with my 3 exams. That's why you reach out 3 times. It's not their job to be tracking your emails, right? You're the one that is looking for some help and assistance. So absolutely do not feel weird about sending the email. I'm also giving you email templates. So now you can't say to me, I just wasn't sure what to write. Right? Because if you have these tools, you can do the rest. You can totally do the rest. Question?
Yeah, those 3 emails,
Yep.
are you not recommending like making a phone call after that, or is that too?
As long as you're waiting 3 weeks, or about 3, you can always look at your situation. But the key is, sometimes if you catch people on the phone, it's slightly jarring for them these days. People are not used to their phone ringing with somebody asking them something. They're used to email first saying, may I give you a call? And then there's a phone call. So you're always welcome to try. If it's been a referral from someone, we can talk about that too. How does that work? But I'm literally giving you, this is a person that you don't know if anyone's connected to that person. Here's an example. It's so simple, it's so easy. All you're going to send is, hello Alyssa, I'm considering a career in XYZ, and I found you in the alumni section of LinkedIn. I'm going to show you that. I'm wondering if you might have a few minutes to share your experiences at blah, 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 working in da-da-da-da. I'm happy to call you when it's most convenient and look forward to connecting with you. You're going to just edit that a little bit. What am I not saying in this little introduction? What's not here?
Your work history?
Your work history. A long explanation of who you are. Yes, an epic poem of your journey by sea from here to there and all of this, all about you. It's not all about you, right? Right? No resumes attached either. That feels like all you're interested in is a job. Just leave it off. Why is it also not necessary to attach resumes anymore? They can look you up. They're going to look you up online, and you're all going to be on LinkedIn. It's going to be fantastic. They're going to easily find you. There's also an email signature. You may or may not already have some version of this. And I always get pushback. Well, why would I actually spell out my email? Because see, if I email them, it's right here. Well, haven't you ever gotten an email and you go to hit reply and you can't for some reason, and then it's just the person's name, so you can't reply? Make it easy for the person you want to talk to. They might get your email and they might just pick up the phone and call you. And then you don't actually get the luxury of being surprised and like, oh, I'm eating, can I not talk right? And be like, wonderful, yes, this is a perfect time. I'm happy to speak with you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have just a couple questions for you. So that's how we kind of make this easy. After there's the initial reach out, I have for you if they respond to you and say, yes, I'd love to meet, I have great, thank you for agreeing to speak with me. And what you say in response. After you actually speak, I have the thank you email, a template of a thank you email. I also have for you, all right, I talked to this person who was awesome, now what? Right? The 3-month follow-up. I have 1 example, 2 examples, 3 examples of reasons to follow up with that person. Because these are business follow-ups. These are professional follow-ups. This is not, even if you really hit it off, this isn't about friends. It isn't about building friends. It's professional acquaintances. There are people that and you'll probably see it when you go into LinkedIn, I've got tons and tons of connections because of the work that I do. And it doesn't matter if I haven't spoken to somebody for 10 years, I can still reach out and just say, hey, we haven't connected in so long. I have a student who's wondering about your industry. If that's something you're interested in, let me know. I'd love to know how you're doing. Sometimes I get it, you know what, I'm just not even doing that anymore. Don't feel like I would be a good connection for them, but I would love to connect up with you when you're free. Great, no problem. Sounds good. I rarely get that though. I almost always get, oh, I haven't worked in that industry for a while. I don't know how helpful I'd be, but I'm happy to help. Most people are willing to help. Most people are willing, yep, they want to try to make that time. So is this starting to feel a little better? Why do you have to network? Why? Why do we have to get to know people?
It's easier when someone is handed a resume, say, check this person out, than give them a stack of resumes and say, find someone.
Yeah, you'll never be found. You'll never be found. And you don't have to, often we all sit and go, okay, but now I'm panicked because like I can think of 3 people I know and that's it. Well, that's part of your job of networking is we're going to build a list of people. You need to build a list. If you're at the point, and it's fine to be there, but I'm not even sure who I want to work for, then that's your first step. There are amazing directories with the library. I know over at the business library, which you are welcome to go over and use those directories too, to go over and to look up. There are tons of things. You probably know that by now. Librarians are the best kept resource in all colleges. They basically write your papers. It's amazing what they hand you. But you can say to them, I'm thinking of nonprofits. I actually don't even know who's in Atlanta. I don't know who's in other cities. Book of lists. I'll tell you who that is. Book of lists. There's one for all the major metropolitan cities. It literally just lists top to bottom. Usually it's about revenues that it lists it. So I always explain to people, remember that the top of the list does not mean that it's the best. It just has something to do with numbers. That's all. But that's a resource. There's all kinds of databases and directories that are up to date. Unlike somebody on Google starting a blog that says top 10 this. So ask for the help. Build a list of places that look interesting. Look that up, and then I'm going to show you how to use that in LinkedIn. You also have here at Emory, we have the alumni directory. Has anybody ever gone into the alumni directory? It's really fun. It's kind of stalking a little bit. It's really fun. You get to go see what people do. I mean, it's you. This is the thing to remember. That alumni directory, you're going to get it in no time, and you're going to spend more of your time as an alum than you are as a student. So they're already you, and you're about to join them, so all's fair, right? That alumni directory, if you go in and I think you just have to register. The minute you pay your first tuition or deposit at Emory, you actually are already in the alumni directory. Okay? So if you go in, I think you may find yourself, it may just say student, you might want to go and populate that too, because you might have things to offer people who are currently here or alums who are looking for things. You're going to have access to that directory till the end of time. So you're going to go to that over and over again when you're looking at career switches, when you're thinking, man, we need to bring somebody in here because you know what? We just got this huge donation and we need an architect. You're probably going to go back to your alumni directory and see who's working where first and even say, hey, I have never had to hire an architect. I see you graduated from Emory and then went on to architectural school. Would you have a couple minutes to talk to me about what kind of questions do I need to ask an architect? That's networking, right? That's networking. Everybody's going to go in there. So one of your assignments, I need you to go into the alumni directory and I need you to find 10 organizations, companies, churches, however you want to define that. And then I need you to find 10 unique individuals. So you can't come back to me and say, well, I found the American Cancer Society and I found 10 people who work for it, so I'm done. No, I want you to expand. Because you're going to, off the top of your head, list about 10 things. Well, if you can already list 10 places you think you want to work, then you owe me more. You owe me at least 5 more. All right? Because as soon as you check the job boards for those 10 and you don't see anything, you get sad. So I want you to not be sad. I want you to try to find like ones. There is not time built into anybody's schedule to do this stuff. No one's. I need you to just make the time. Okay? It's important. You can't help others if you don't get the jobs that are there for you, correct?
Right.
You cannot help them. It is not about you. Your job searches here today, all of you in this room, not one of you is doing a job search that is the least bit selfish, self-centered, egotistical. Your job searches are all about, I have something that I think I am supposed to go and help people with. And we need you to go do that. The world needs you to go do this. So it is important that you do this. If you can't do it for you, if you can do it for you, don't worry about what I just said. But odds are, it's really hard to do this for ourselves, and it is for other people. So work on it for other people. So you are going to have 2 great sheets that you get to pick up at the end of class, All right, so now, here's what I'm going to show you over here. I'm going to show you my best friend in the whole world, which is LinkedIn. Now, how many of you have a LinkedIn profile already? Okay, little over half. Great, actually, that's excellent. Now, this is one of those things that this is not Facebook. This is not, oh, look, I got an update. This is not what that is. This is not something that you go in and continue to update. For those of you who remember them, this is an encyclopedia. Does anybody ever remember encyclopedias?
Still have them.
You have them. I wish we had that set. I want to find one from growing up to see how factual it is at this point anymore, right? But this is like an encyclopedia. This is something that you are going to go in, you're going to set this page up, you're going to get it there, and you're not nitpicking this all the time. So I am not a social media person. It's not my thing. It's not how I want to spend my time. But I'm a huge advocate of LinkedIn because it keeps you connected. It really does keep you connected, and it's business connections. So what you want to do when you get into those profiles is just follow exactly what's there, but just put your resume out there. Just put your resume up there. Honors and awards. You can put things there that you can't fit in your resume. It's a great reminder. I went in and I realized when it was organizations, I thought, wow, I have really slipped off with the number of organizations that I'm a part of. So it was a great reminder to me of, maybe there's something new you want to try, or something you want to be a part of. So it can be great for that, of going in and kind of seeing where are all these skill sets, right? But the best part about all of this is the way that it connects us to people. So there is this whole job section. Unless you put the filters in, it's going to be just like any job board that you get. It's going to be all kinds of things, and it's hard to tell is this really for you? Is this for somebody with advanced degrees, or is this for somebody who doesn't have any degrees? But one of the great things that can really help with jobs, when jobs come up, is, it's going to come up with different things that might be of interest to you. Here, let's look at Ronald and Blue & Co., organizational development. Here's what's really cool. Here's similar jobs, right here. So, I don't know who DMC is. I have no idea who Nomar Chappelle is. I think I know Avis and Budget. I think those are car rentals, right? But I'll go and learn and see what that is. So I also am building a vocabulary of places I could potentially work just by doing some inquiry. The other thing that it tells you that's kind of interesting, how many people have applied? 89 applicants. When has that happened? It can also show you, look at this. So here are the things that they're tagged for, here's what they've done. There are even jobs, let's check this one out, this might have it, that will even give you a ballpark salary. Look at that. Estimated salary for this job is. So that can be very interesting. Now I will tell you that that's a pretty big range, right? 61 to 101, that's a pretty big difference in salary, but at least it can potentially give you a sense of, are you on the right track, that this is where you're headed. So the other thing that was interesting too is see how it will say to me, hey Ann, don't forget, Josh is somebody you're connected to. So this is somebody, if I'm interested in this job at Lockheed Martin, what it's going to say is, hey, just didn't want you to forget. Here's somebody you could reach out to ask for more information, right? Now, I'm going to show you another trick.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a premium member of LinkedIn?
I don't think I am anymore. And I don't know that it's necessary.
Okay.
It might be in the beginning, but how LinkedIn works, the secret to LinkedIn, the more people you're connected to, the more you can see.
Okay.
So it's very much about, are you really in this or are you not in this? Are you just putting your profile up and you've connected to 10 friends? So one of the things that you need to do is you need to connect to every single person you're going to school with. You all need to connect to each other. And so you all need to accept each other's connections. Everybody needs to connect to each other. You will always be able to not connect somebody to someone else. Like, you always have control over that. So if you're thinking, I don't know if I can refer that person, you'll make that decision later in the road. So don't worry about that. Question?
Yeah, so I will admit I just got LinkedIn.
Great.
When I started getting email requests from people I went to college with saying add me.
Great.
And yeah, so I'm one of those people I wouldn't want a future employer to know that.
Yes, that's a very good point. See,
Do I accept their, but I mean,
you be
I just never used
selective.
LinkedIn before.
Be
Okay.
selective. Much like anything that we use, our grandparents are 100% right. You know, who you stand shoulder to shoulder with is a reflection of who you are. So I would say look at them, and LinkedIn isn't going to tell you personality traits of people necessarily. So it's just a question of, is this somebody who, in a professional context, is this somebody who you could see connecting with, talking to for, hey, can you help me with this? I'm happy to help you with that. That's kind of what you want to look at.
Because it's really
Is
only
that
going to
part of it?
reveal their name and their education and their current job. There's not, I mean, I know you said it's not like Facebook, but it's not going
Not
to
at all.
reveal anything else about.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, it sure isn't. And the thing about that, and the reason you do want to accept those when people send those requests, I have tons of people that reach out to me because they see Emory and they see leadership, and it's like, I do leadership development work. Can you get me in at Emory? I literally get initial requests that say, can you get me in at Emory? I do leadership work. I let those go, right? That's not how you do that. But people who say, I'd love to learn more about what Emory does about leadership, I'm going to go and I'm going to read their profile. I'm probably going to go into, might reach out, not connect to them and put them in my network because I don't know them yet, but I can reach out through the LinkedIn email and say, yes, I'd be happy to give you a few minutes to tell you about what we do here at Emory. Thanks for reaching out. You know, what's a time that works for you? And then if I feel like there is a good connection there, then I would connect with them. So you get to decide that. Yes?
What do you do with requests from people who are 2 or 3 steps removed from you? You don't know them personally, and there's not necessarily a message that says, hi, I'm going to connect with you because
Right.
of this. There's just sort of this,
With certain people, I will look at it, and if I can't see a reason why they're trying to connect, like if they're not another college services professional, then, and I can't put a pinpoint on why are you trying to connect with me, you can email them through LinkedIn. So sometimes I say, I see that you sent a request to me to connect. I'm just curious what you think the connection might be, or how I can help. The ones, people will fade away, or they'll be like, oh, you know, so-and-so mentioned you, thought I would just reach out directly, and, you know, there it is. You do not have to be able to tell the life story of everybody you're connected to. So there are plenty of times that you're going to say to me, hey, I saw you're connected to so-and-so, will you introduce me? I may email you back and say, that's somebody that all I know is what you're reading too. I'm happy to connect you if that's okay with you. And there you go. You're never going to be able to remember everybody quite that well. But I will say that LinkedIn does a very good job of, they try to keep spam out of things. They really, it seems like a good place to be able to connect, and your instinct is always there with people.
And there, just like, and going off that, there's also an option on LinkedIn, if someone sends you, I don't know what they're called on LinkedIn, but like a request or whatever, there's an option where you can decline and say, I don't know this person. And so LinkedIn can see
Correct.
that. This person is just sending, you know, a million invites.
Try to see here. I still have 139 invitations because I haven't connected with all of my students yet. So, let's see. Whoa, what's this one? No, it's good.
Because you're
Oh,
also
it's
supposed to
good.
have people that you know. So like you're supposed to be able to say, we went to school together, we work right. You're not just supposed to know.
Yeah, or when you're sending an invitation, it asks you to,
We're going to get into all of that, and I'm going to show you what is going on. It's happening again. Notifications. It's not letting me in.
It's kind of weird because all of my
All right, let me show you this part, because the first thing you've got to do is you've got to find people. So one of the best things you have is if you come over here to connections, it goes to find alumni. All right, so connections, find alumni. And I put down that I go to Emory. So look what it comes up with, guys. You know when you say, oh, I don't know anybody that there are 50,000 Emory people on LinkedIn. Do you think that there could potentially be 10 people you could connect with? Yes, absolutely. So here's what's so fabulous about this, and it's actually really fun to do this, is you hit show more. So some of you are saying, like, they're thinking of certain places that I might want to work. So you can click on any one of those places. Let's say somebody wants to go to Chicago. Alrighty, so here's Chicago. Here's 1,100 alums in Chicago. Here's where they work. You may not know where some of these places are. That's okay. It gives you an opportunity to reach out and find out what it is. Here are different channels that they might work in. So you can totally reach out on any of those things. Here's the other thing to remember. Is it factual for me to say, well, I only work with business students at Emory and all they know are business students. So if I need to know about a student who's majoring in music, clearly not one business student would have any idea who would major in music. Is that factual? No. So you can't look at this and go, oh, I don't see the kind of organization, the name of where I want to work isn't there. Oh, it's not a field of what I want. All of these 1,100 people are connected to thousands of people. So it may be reaching out to somebody that seems like they could have a connection. So who's here? Theological Seminary. Hey, I'm a seminary student at Emory. I see you went there for undergrad. I'm looking to learn more about the Chicago area and XYZ. I was wondering if you had a few minutes to talk. Is that scary? No, it's not scary. Yes?
How do you get in to see that if there's 22 people that are IT, how do you see those 22?
So when you click here, it will pop up down here.
Oh, okay,
So
gotcha.
these are your people then, here,
Sweet.
okay? So it shows you all of the people.
This is great.
It's amazing. So then what I can do over here is, let's say that we want to talk to Lindsay, okay? See how it says I'm 3 away from Lindsay? 3 right here? That means that I'm not directly there connecting with her. 3 can be a little hard to get to. So I'm probably going to do this. I'm going to be like, well, you know what? Let me see if there's somebody else who's a little closer in my network. Who could that potentially be? Odds are people that are up here, some of these people I may have some connections with. So this person, okay, I have a second connection. You always want to open up the person's profile. So sometimes they've changed it and they don't open this up fully anymore. Oh, Wilma, she's great. Okay. It's also really fun because you see people that you haven't talked to in a while, so that's neat then. All right, so I'm going to search for him and I'm going to bring up his full profile. Then what I'm going to do is in LinkedIn, these tiny arrows are your friends, okay? So if the person doesn't have an Emory background, you're going to come to this little arrow and it's going to say get introduced. And somebody will introduce you. You'll pick the person and get introduced. But because, in theory, I go to Emory University, if his full profile is open, and I hit connect, this is what comes up. I would hit classmate, I would choose Emory University, and then you'd never send, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. Right? Unless it's just like you and I, I'm like, it doesn't matter, you guys, just send it. It's cool, right? But even so, take the time to write something. Take the time to write something. You can use part of what I'm giving you on that little template. This is where, once you put what's in there, they can decide to just email you through LinkedIn, or they can decide to actually connect with you. It's their choice. So you're not insisting somebody connect with you to talk to you. The nice thing is that LinkedIn has now decided that if you go to the same university, you can talk to each other directly. You don't have to be introduced, because they assume that's enough of a connection. Because that's what we've been telling them for years as part of one of the groups that works with them on how can we make this service better. So it is fine to reach out to people. If you have the phone app, don't try to connect with anybody through the phone app, because it doesn't give you an option to write a different message. So just always open up the full profile. If you don't open the full profile, it often just sends this message to people. If that happens, just send them a second invitation. Don't say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I can't believe I did this, oh my gosh, I'm so silly, I'm so sorry, ignore my first one. They're going to ignore the first one, so don't worry about it. Just send a follow-up one. Just send a follow-up one. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Okay, so that's pretty cool to see that list, right? Let me show you another thing. So you see you have this search box up at the top? All right, so you can try. You can type company names and things like that, but unless you've got a lot of connections, it's going to be hard to find stuff. So let me show you another very cool thing. So you come up here to advanced. Advanced. All right. Now there are things you can do here. You could search via keyword for a certain word that should be in their titles, in places where they've worked. One of the things that I think is really interesting with this is if we put in American Society, and then you put in your school, Emory, location anywhere. Here we go. And this is whether they're there now or in the past, is what I selected. So look at all these people who have some sort of connection, doing all kinds of things. The other really interesting thing about this to me, oh, Thorsten, that's right, Thorsten moved on, is you can see other places where people like this have worked. So Jacqueline was there, but then moved on to triage consulting. Well, you know what? Now you can go read on triage consulting. Is that something that's of interest to you? So if you can find people working at one company that you think is interesting, then they probably are taking similar paths to what you might be wanting to do, and you can build that whole vocabulary of what organizations are even out there who you want to work with. This guy became a mobile app maker. Look at that. Director of Procurement at CBRE. He used to be Strategic Sourcing in the American Cancer Society. So, you start to see how this world's open up with this? You can get lost in here really fast. You can kill hours inside of here. What I highly recommend, open an Excel spreadsheet. We're going to open one up right now. I'm assuming we can. Can we open one up like this? Can. Microsoft Office. All right. Blank workbook. This first column, this is going to be the organization name. This is going to be first name, last name, email, phone, and then you're going to have connect, LinkedIn. Did you do it? This is going to be note. This is going to be connect to. This is going to be a note. This is going to be connect 3. This is going to be a note. See where I'm going with this? All right. I have students who will send these back to me 4 years after graduation and will say, I just had to show you this. I've now got 5,000 people and the columns extend. What happens is you're reaching out to these people right now. They're going to remember you reached out. They're going to say, oh, I can reach back out to him because he reached out to me. I'm going to reach out to him because I have a question. Within months of you reaching out, people are going to also be thinking of you as a resource. And it's going to start to move around. So they may reach out and say, you said, I think when we were talking about American Cancer Society, you were also talking about you were looking for some international organizations. I'd love to talk to you about that because I'm thinking I might want to go in that direction now. And you're going to pull out your sheet and you're like, oh my gosh, here are 5 that I really liked. Here's 2 more that I really liked. And that person is now, they're your best friend, right? Now you can go to Facebook with that person. That's great. You can talk about all that stuff, all that, right? But keeping something simple like this, again, yes, it's not fun to do this. It's not fun. It's not how you want to spend your time, but it's so productive. It's so productive. So here's what I would like you to do. I would like you right now, I want you to source 5 organizations that you're interested in. I want you to try, those of you with laptops, let's try to look something up on LinkedIn. Let's try to find them and let's see what kind of roles you have. Let me see how I can help you with some of these. Does that sound good? So those are some fabulous questions, and I heard really good discussions going on. Remember, I'm trying to get a couple different things with this. One recommendation, when you see when I give you the sheets of what we write when you're trying to connect with people, this says, I'm wondering if you might have 15 minutes to share your experiences at blah. Inviting somebody to dinner and lunch is lovely, coffee is lovely, but how many of you would be like, that's awesome, I've never met you before? No. So it's time consuming, it's costly, let's remember that, because if you invite, you're paying. So it's costly, and it usually results in the meeting never happening, the connection never happening. Because you know how busy life is. You know that you could give somebody, you could just pause over here with your phone for 15 minutes. You could walk outside for 15 minutes and talk to somebody about, well, I'd love to help you with your decision of whether or not to come to Candler. That you can do randomly, but if you're supposed to meet them today at 2 o'clock for coffee and you're getting into a great conversation after this, you're most likely going to cancel on this person that you've never met before. So just keep that in mind, that phone is fine. Quick phone conversations are fine. You're just touching base in meeting, right? You're just touching base in meeting. So that was, I think, a great point to bring up that was brought up. Let's see, the other thing, a couple other questions that went through. We're looking at. Oh, we had one where we set to connection and then a weird thing popped up on the screen. It's not you. LinkedIn still does weird things. It's still software. My husband works in IT, so he said I get to say all those things, that it's okay. He actually works in ticketing with the Woodruff Art Center as part of his job, so when the Fandango site crashed because of all the Star Wars tickets, he was like, yes, hooray! Somebody else crashed over ticket sales. But it is IT, it is a website. It also will change. One day you'll go in and it's like, wonderful, keep connecting to all these people as classmates at Emory, and then it's going to say, I'm sorry, oops, we've made a mistake, or something will come up, and it might have decided, you know what, you've emailed like 5 people today, we're just going to cut you off for the day, because we want to make sure that you're not trying to sell them a bridge in Brooklyn. So it's not the kind of thing that you can say, well, I'm going to plan an afternoon and I'm going to send out like 50 messages. It won't let you, because that's just not really how. All of this is a little bit all the time. It's not sit down in one lump sum. So do know things like that will come up. But I would say the big safety tips would be always fully open a person's profile when you want to connect so that the generic message doesn't go out. If you think the generic message went out, just resend what you sent them. It's fine. It's totally fine. Other things, those little tiny arrows can be your friend. The other question, that was actually very good too, was, do you use LinkedIn? Do you use the alumni database? The reason that I show you LinkedIn is because the alumni database can only be as updated as alumni keep it updated. So I'm going to ask you, how many of you know that all of your information in your undergraduate college profile at your university is 100% up to date? Usually there's 1 or 2 people that are like, I'm in. So if somebody who went to your undergrad sees that you're now going to Candler and says, I would love to learn more about that, they're probably not going to have a correct email address, phone number, living address for you in your college database. So you often reach some dead ends. Sometimes they'll luck out and they put a Gmail account in there and you can just email that person directly. So you can try the alumni database, but I find that I get a lot of disappointed students because you expect there to be more in there. There's laws as to why we can't publish everybody's, right? You don't really want your email out there for the world like that, so that's why it's not all readily available. But do try to use the alumni database just in case, and it can show you things. And I think that was a great point. You have an alumni office here. So actually talking to the alumni office, making sure, and I know it's hard, but when there are alumni that come back to speak, when there are events when alumni are here, when they're taking their time to come back, they are doing that for you. They really aren't doing that out of, want me to talk, this is so exciting. They really do want that, and they would love to talk to you. Remember the big thing about LinkedIn and about talking to and networking with anybody. Your job usually doesn't come from the person that you reached out to. So even if your job was at the American Cancer Society and you found the person currently doing that exact job that you want, that doesn't matter. It's probably going to come from somebody who works in a totally different field, in a totally different area, that knows people, that gets you over to that person. But people know you and think about you, and about every 3 months, you pop up with some little, hey, I noticed you got a promotion on LinkedIn, congratulations. That pops up, and all of a sudden they see your little profile again, they're like, oh, seeking position. Gosh, my cousin in Montana said something about they're looking for somebody at their church. Some things like that are actually more common than that direct hit on the target. There's a hand up.
Yeah, sorry for my inexperience with this, but I've been to, for example, the Green Networking Night every year at Emory and always make really great connections. So my follow-up question is it awkward to like, do you bring up, hey, can I, it's good to see you again this year, love your organization, can I connect with you on LinkedIn? Or do you just
Yes.
not bring that up in person and just go home and look them up and add them? What's the best way?
That's what I would do, and especially now, what's amazing is you don't need to ask permission.
Okay.
Because you've met them, even after you meet somebody once, it's not weird at all to then go connect with LinkedIn. In business, that's now standard practice. Outside of business, it's still not quite as standard of practice. So my sister's an attorney. She always is like, oh, I always go to your site to look for everything because you're connected to so many different people. She's not as connected to different people because it's not the same thing in the law profession. But you are going to see so many people. The people that come to the green networking night are usually well connected because it's a field that kind of demands it. Yeah, so absolutely reach out. It's great. And then it's so great to see you at the Emory Green Networking Night. Thanks again for taking your time to come and meet with us.
Okay.
They're connecting to you. That's a lovely message, right?
Yeah.
And it's how you feel. You're glad they're there. And then it's fine, like after they connect, maybe wait that when after they connect, you could say, would you have time? It was so great to speak with you. You could say, there's a position that I found at such and such. I was wondering if you had any additional information about it. You've got enough rapport now that you can kind of start talking to them about things like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're at 10 o'clock. All right, so we are almost at time. And I have an alum coming over to the business school today from Ogilvy, the advertising agency in town, who's going to talk to my millennials about mistakes millennials make on the job and being a millennial. So I said, you have to be nice. She's like, I'm always nice. I said, good. So I'm going to go work with her, but we are going to do something super fun next time. Do you remember what our topic is next time?
Interviews.
Interviews. And I hope all of you are like, wow, yeah, my calendar's really busy. I can't, We are going to do interview practice. It will actually be fun. And you know what's great about it is you're going to feel so good the first time you go to an interview. You're gonna probably want to laugh because you're going to say, this is exactly what I did when I sat through that workshop, and I am in charge of this, and I feel good. And so we're going to practice this together. I'm going to teach you interview formats, how to build your stories, when they ask you a question, how to really answer it, and I'm going to teach you how to take control of the interview without them knowing that you're taking control of it. And you get to guide the interview. That sound great? Take over without them, right? These situations, take over without them knowing. And it really will be a good session. Please bring your, if you can bring a printed copy of your resume, if it's not too much to ask. That would be great, just so people, as we practice, we can look at resume. Do not worry. Don't not come because you wanted to do more with your resume or it's not right or you're just not sure. The longer you procrastinate, the harder this all is. Just keep up with all this with us. Come to these sessions. They're here. They're planned hopefully at a time that it works for you, and it's so that you have less to do all by yourself later, because that would be sad. So, yes, sir.
I guess next session I'm going to get a chance to talk about brand management, like personal brand management.
Personal brand? Yeah, we've kind of like woven it through these. So would you like me to spend a little time on that? Okay, can I ask this of you? Would you, you guys all know how to email me, right? First of all, will you all connect with me on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Okay, because now you're going to be two away from all kinds of people too, because of the luck of my job, being connected to a lot of people, so hopefully we can help you with some of that. So please send me a message. I'm a great person to practice on, especially for getting it wrong or trying something different. Would you like me to connect with you? Do you have a policy on that? Do you connect with current students or alums?
I can connect on LinkedIn. I
Excellent.
can't on Facebook.
There we
I
go.
can absolutely connect on LinkedIn.
There we go. So look at that. So
So you're saying?
Kelly, Kelly, ANNE, and Kelly,
EY?
KELLY.
BBA.
E on the and, not the extra E.
Yes, this is her.
There you go.
Yeah.
So connect with me on LinkedIn, and I would also enjoy hearing from you. What questions do you have about brand? You might think it's harder than it is. If you can get those 3 bolded words on that cover letter, that's essentially your brand. This is what I bring you. This is what I can present.
Sorry, I have a
Yes,
question. If we're connecting with you, what would be the correct category to put under?
you can have done business together. For me, and you can pick the director of the BBA CMC Career Management, or you can pick AMK Consulting, where I do this in my own business. Either or, and see if it lets you go through with that. And again, LinkedIn gets funny.
So when it says choose the company, it brings up what I've listed on my profile.
Oh, it does. So you know what, right now it'll let me connect as a fellow alum.
I can click other,
I always just do friend.
but then it says interview
Is there a reason
position,
not
it
to
will
do
be
that?
added to
I
your
wouldn't do friend because it often asks you for their email address and more data that you might not have.
Does anyone else?
Yeah.
What if
So
we like listed ourselves as alumni, even though we're not?
Emory alumni.
you are, well, you should also, there are, something you can do, it's very cool. You can join the Emory Alumni Association on LinkedIn. We didn't talk about groups, there are groups on LinkedIn. Start joining groups on LinkedIn, because that lets you talk to people who are in those groups. So that would be another thing to try to connect to. All right, Rome. We're good?
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
You're the best.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.